Arizona Theater Company, this is Hang in Focus with your host, Sean Daniels.
As someone that grew up in Arizona, it's a great way for us to share the work that we do worldwide.
And featuring co-host Chanel Bragg.
That is our responsibility, is to reflect what is going on in the world.
Streaming live from the State Theater of Arizona.
So let's do it. Let's really use this moment to re-envision ourselves.
Welcome to Hang in Focus, live with Sean Daniels.
This is the new Arizona Theater Company. I'm just glad that you're here.
On today's show, Sean welcomes Elaine Romero, Maria A. Caprile, and Rafael Falcon for a conversation in advance of RomeroFest.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chanel Bragg, Associate Artistic Director for Arizona Theater Company, and we're so glad that you have joined us today for Hang in Focus Live. Now, of course, I'm flying a little bit solo today as my partner in crime and his family are currently battling COVID. So we would just want to send a special extra amount of love, healing vibes, and good juju over to the Daniels family. We miss you and we can't wait for you to join us again. But it has been an exciting couple of weeks, just coming off the heels of the inauguration and such history, electing our first woman to the vice presidency. It has been a wonderful time, to be alive in a very promising 2021. I do have an exciting show for you today. We are letting you know that we are going to launch an entire festival coming up in March called the RomeroFest. And who better to come on and talk about that as my guests are Elaine Romero as our featured guest, along with Bryan, Rafael, Falcon, and Maria Caprile from Winding Road and Scoundrel and Scamp. So please turn on your cameras, unmute yourself, and say hello to the people.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
So wonderful to see you all today. If you just want to do a brief introduction of yourself so our audience get to know you a little bit better. We'll start off with Maria.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yes, if you could just do a brief introduction of yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm having a little trouble hearing today. I'm Maria Caprile. I'm the Artistic Director for Winding Road Theater Ensemble in Tucson.
Wonderful. And Bryan?
I'm Bryan Rafael Falcon. I'm the Artistic and Managing Director at the Scoundrel Scamp Theater in Tucson.
Thank you. And last and certainly not least, the guest of honor.
I'm Elaine Romero. I'm the playwright in residence at Arizona Theater Company, and I'm an associate professor at the University of Arizona in the School of Television.
Well, we are so glad that we have these three wonderful companies that are gathered today to talk about the RomeroFest. So this is going to be the very first time we're talking about this in public. So for our audience, you are getting the goods right away. And we are actually going to be doing a press release on Monday. So we can't wait for you to learn even more about our festival. But we just gathered today to talk to you a little bit more about that. And so Elaine, can you tell us kind of how the RomeroFest first came to fruition?
It was Sean's idea.
Sean always has
so idea. Careful to not send too many plays for fear that people will think, oh my God, where are all those plays coming from? But he figured out that I had a pretty large body of work, and he got this idea that playwrights aren't really celebrated where they live, and why don't we do a RomeroFest? So I'm super, super grateful and excited and touched and moved. And it started because these two theaters that are sitting in the room with us, Scoundrel and Scamp and Winding Road Theater Ensemble, had decided to do readings, and ATC had as well in the same season. And that's when Sean, the lights went on, and he said, oh, let's join hands and do it all together and make a thing. So that's how it started.
That's really exciting. Now, Maria, tell me, so what is the offering of Elaine's that you were doing anyway, independent of the festival, that now is a part of the festival, and why you chose it?
Yeah, we chose to do Wetback, Elaine's play, probably a little over a year ago. I think I met with Elaine and we first talked about it, doing it as a reading for our Winding Read series. And then I found out that Bryan over at Scoundrel and Scamp was doing Title IX, and I said, isn't that this part of the same trilogy? That Wetback is the first in the trilogy and Title IX is the third. And then Sean said the same thing. And I said, we should try and get a local company to do the play in the middle. And he said, let's do a whole festival. I was like, okay. So that's how we got here.
Oh,
Out
so
of this border trilogy, the University of Arizona is actually going to be presenting Mother of Exiles, which is the middle of the trilogy. So it's kind of exciting that they're all going to be here in Tucson as we launch this national event.
I think we're actually doing them in order too, aren't we?
We are, yes.
Yay!
so cool to see. Now, Bryan, talk about a little bit why you chose Title IX.
Well, there's a longer story in there because it's one of these things where I had been a fan of Elaine's way back before I knew her. I actually studied her work back in grad school. By hand, I put together that the woman I was saying hello to in the coffee shop every week was the same person who was the Elaine Romero. And so when we figured that out, we're like, well, it's a good opportunity for us to put on some of her work. And so we've been thinking about doing it for the last 2 years, and I approached her and said, well, what would be a good fit? And Title IX is one of the titles she mentioned. And so we said, that's it. This is what we're going to do this year.
That is so fantastic. So Elaine, has all 3 of your shows ever been done like in a festival format at one time, or one theater that did all 3 of your pieces in succession?
Oh, no.
Oh, we can't hear you, dear.
I hadn't had a chance to see them next to each other. So this is really a great opportunity to see them lined up next to each other and to see how the whole works, not just the individual pieces, but how the pieces work together.
Now, if you were to sell the pieces to the audience to get people excited about coming to the festival to see these 3 offerings specifically, what would be a cute short summation of it?
Oh my. You know, playwrights always say we write the whole play so you'll know what it is. I would just say, you know, these plays are set on the border, and I'm really interested in complex characters and these Chicanas who found themselves between 2 worlds and perhaps made some compromises along the way that they're not completely aware of. And I'm super interested in social issues. So each play deals with some social issue, but it's all here on the border where we all are, or at least some of us are, the ones from Tucson and Phoenix. Yeah.
So it's all border related, which is an important conversation to have, especially in Arizona because of our proximity to the border. Were you always like gravitating toward this type of work? Or is it these like have a special place in your heart for you to talk about this exact subject matter?
Well, I've written about the border a lot, but really for me, I've spent a lot of time on these works. I mean, sometimes I just laugh at myself, like, oh, I guess I'm going to rewrite Wetback again. I guess I'm going to go back and hit it again. And, you know, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just that commitment to getting things right. And I really feel super fortunate. You know, some of these plays have had really great readings and other places too. So we're bringing them home, which I think is really great, to my home theater and to these theaters that we're working with. So I feel happy about that. And you know, I have always been interested in social issues, and I'm really interested though in human stories. So they're not like issue plays, they're really humans against the background of moments in time. And I'm super interested in our own moments in time that we find ourselves back, you know, that we have a background of COVID right now. We have the background of a new election. You know, we have all these different backgrounds, what happened at the Capitol. And those inform these intimate lives that we lead. And that's what I'm always interested in a play, is the human beings who have to work amidst whatever's happening on the bigger scale. Because I'm interested in fragile, complicated people who aren't perfect.
And what audience doesn't want to see that though, right? Because that shows a part of ourselves, right? That are reflected on stage, the parts of ourselves that we quiet, that we don't want to say out loud, but then you see that on stage and you're like, oh, I identify with that. And so that's really beautiful and a testament to the how great of a writer that you are. Maria, so our audience doesn't know who is directing your offering for the RomeroFest.
Well, I am so fortunate that Arizona Theater Company is partnering with Winding Road Theater Ensemble, and Sean Daniels will be directing our production, our reading of Wetback. We are thrilled about that.
Now, did he have to audition to get the job? What did you put him through?
Yeah. He auditioned by somebody gave me his email address. That's about it.
That's about it.
That was fine. That was plenty. At Arizona Theater Company, we're good.
But why was it him in particular that you're like, I would like Sean to direct this piece of work? Because I do think like when you choose a director, it's very deliberate, right? So why did you make that choice?
Was actually Elaine's choice. She, as a member of the Dramatists Guild, has a large hand in the casting and choosing the director and everything else. And when she mentioned it to me, I said, well, if you could get him, that would be great. So yeah, I went right along with that idea.
Well, I really do support though, like as you know, directors community connecting with different theaters and being present in those spaces. And we're one big family as far as I'm concerned. And so I think it's really exciting when you get to see different theaters collaborating with each other in this way. Elaine, but I will pose the question to you. Why did you think that Sean was a good fit for Wetback?
I've always been interested in his mind, and he's read my work over time, even before he got here, and he's always connected to it. So I thought that would be really exciting. And I really wanted, you know, also to have this collaboration between the theaters, like to not just say, okay, we're collaborating in this one way, but we're actually collaborating with artists. And I think that, I mean, we have, what's exciting about the founding theaters in this room is we're all sharing artists. And I think that's a really exciting part about it. And I think that those kinds of collaborations don't always happen. You know, we always end up doing our work in our own little corner. And I was excited to see, hey, let's just really mix things. And so that's what we're doing.
I wanted to say that Sean actually saw Winding Road's production of The Big Meal last December. And from that point on, he had been saying, I want to work with Winding Road. I want to do some kind of partnership with Winding Road. So yeah, thank you very, very much, Mr. Daniels.
I think that's so exciting. Well, the Tucson theater scene is very beautiful for our Phoenix patrons too. You really should make the trip down. I always say up. But you should always make the trip. I always get confused with that. But you really should make the trip down to Tucson because there's a lot of really great work that's happening. And you both, you know, from Winding Road and Scoundrel Scamp are proof of that. Bryan, I want to ask if you could elaborate a little bit more about like, what is like your theater's mission? Like your pictures on your website give me life. And so like, even if I knew nothing about your theater, I would want to come to your theater by your advertisement and marketing alone. So can you give us an idea of like what your like what kind of characteristic, what type of theater that you guys produce?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a vision for wanting to represent the voices of the underrepresented. We want to bring a lot of diverse playwrights and bring in artists from diverse backgrounds to work in our theater. So part of our work this season, there was the festival movement here, which was a challenge, an organization challenged theaters to try to pick up work by underrepresented authors and do it. And so we said, yes, this is wonderful, we're in. And so when we put together our reading series, we did so with an eye to try to find artists of different backgrounds. And to that end, when we ran across Title IX, Elaine's work, we were like, well, here we have a Latina playwright who's actually a neighbor, right, doing work about border issues and following a really interesting topic. I think a quote from the play, Elaine mentions in it that if the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that is really in line with what we want to present, these questions that are hard to unpack, but they bear discussion. And if we bring in brilliant artists to be able to present stories in ways that really attach to the heart as well to the mind, then we're doing our job as a theater company because we're helping build empathy. And that's something that we need so drastically in our society right now. And we just felt that Title IX and the other work that we're doing as part of our season really tries to address those particular topics. The other piece that we try to do at Scoundrel and Scamp, and it's not so evident in Title IX, but we're trying to attract the next generation of theater goer. And thus we have the Scoundrel and the Scamp. The Scamp side of things is we do a lot of work for all ages. And so most recently we did Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins, which was a telling of a Hanukkah story. We did it in our parking lot during COVID, which was a new experience for us, but it was just delightful. And we were actually able to stream it and be able to bring in an audience as far away as New Zealand. So just really, it was exciting to be able to do it in a new format, but also have a reach that was far beyond just our local environs.
New Zealand, that's huge. what, like, was it a connection that you had in New Zealand, or they were like, you were doing this work and we just want to know about it?
So it's a cool story. So we partnered up with the Jewish Foundation of Southern Arizona, sorry, the Jewish Federation of Southern Arizona. They connected us with PJ Library. And PJ Library is a distributor of Jewish children's books to families all over the world. They give away these books for free. And Herschel and the Hanukkah Goblins is just a beloved children's story. And they said, hey, we're actually going to be sending out tens of thousands of these books to kids. Would you like us to tell them about this performance that you're doing in your parking lot? We said, yes, we're on board. And so with their outreach, we were able to connect with families all over the world. It was just a delightful partnership.
That is amazing. And of course, now I'm very interested in how exactly does one do a play in the parking lot? Like, did you build a set? Can you tell us a little bit more about that process? I just love how innovative theaters are being right now, especially in the pandemic. What a cool idea that you can also carry on after we return back to live theater full time. I mean, I think it's so exciting to produce in this way. So like, what's your setup look like?
There's a lot of innovation. We asked a lot of questions. How do we want to do this? And our resident stage manager, Tiffer Hill, put together a bunch of drawings of different configurations we could do in our parking lot. So we said, well, what if everyone would drive into the parking lot? What if we go ahead and arrange everybody in a circle with their headlights on and do a play in the middle? What if we go ahead and do it, we're piping the sound right into their car series? And in the end, we decided that there is still a distancing that happens behind that windshield. And so we wanted to have it a little more immediate. So we set up socially distanced chairs all through our parking lot. The audience was wearing masks. Our actors were wearing masks for Herschel, but kept distance. And then we figured out how to do the sound and the lighting in an outdoor environment, which is interesting because whenever you do theater outdoors, as you know, you just have to kind of roll with it. So the night when the police helicopters are hovering overhead, for example, or you have the motorcycle parade going down 4th Avenue just next door to us, and our actors just rolled with it. They improvised, they made it work. And it just was just a delightful experience. And just to be able to gather, even though we're socially distanced and masked, but we're under the night sky, outside of this beautiful building, and just it's a coming together in a time when it's so hard to come together. And so it was just a great experience.
That's beautiful. And Maria, I want to give you the same opportunity as well to be able to share a little bit about Winding Road's mission and the type of work that you do there. And I know that China Young works with you guys as a part of your cast, and she's spoken so highly of your theater. So I would like to know a little bit more.
Well, thank you so much. We love China. She's one of our ensemble members. Winding Road is, we like to call ourselves Tucson's indie theater, but we have a special emphasis on doing original playwrights. And that was how I originally approached Elaine about this, about doing Wetback, is that we were looking for original plays by women for our Winding Reed series. And Molly Lyons actually told me, oh, we should do one of Elaine's plays. And she just wrote one that I really love. So I said, great. And I contacted Elaine and she sent it to me. And it really spoke to me. I kind of think of it as a Romeo and Juliet story on the border, but it's also exactly what Elaine talked about, a woman that's kind of caught between two worlds, and that appealed to me. I grew up in a mixed family. My father is Puerto Rican American, born in Spanish Harlem, and my mom is a blue-eyed, blonde German girl from the Amish country. So it was. I find that I often am in those two worlds, especially when I'm living in the Southwest like I am right now. So it's kind of fun. But I think that's everything. Oh, I know I wanted to mention that Winding Road is actually this season, our entire season, both our Winding Reeds and our main stage shows, all of which are on Zoom, are all original plays. Every single thing is something that's unpublished, and I negotiated the rights with all of the playwrights, and it's just, everybody's been so giving and understanding about doing Zoom theater. It's really hard to get the rights to publish plays for Zooming, and it's worked out great. I think that all the plays that we have up, we have one running right now, they're all beautiful. They look so nice on the screen, and it's really been an interesting experience to try and create Zoom theater.
That is exciting. Well, give it up to all the emerging playwrights that are coming up, but Elaine, who has paved that way for them. I do want to turn attention to the RomeroFest just before we lose you guys. I just want to ask, like, if you were to sum up why the audience should come to the RomeroFest, what would be one sentence you would give to really sell coming to the RomeroFest?
I think it's so wonderful when you have an opportunity to see the threads that make up a playwright's work, a body of work. And so here, not only do you have the border play trilogy, but you're able to go dip into the other worlds that Elaine has woven. And there are comedies and there's dramas and there's histories. I mean, it's all in there. And this is more than one sentence, but it's just, it's a very unusual and incredible opportunity, and one you won't see probably again right away. So you should take advantage of the opportunity to go ahead and dive into this world of Elaine's work.
Yeah.
Exactly. Maria?
I just wanted to say that Elaine is an incredibly prolific playwright and with a really creative mind. And as she talks about all the different plays she's written while we were working on putting the festival together, I am just blown away by the breadth of her reach, her mental reach and emotional reach. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I think there are going to be, more than 12 theaters participating. There is going to be something that you want to see on this screen. So check out this festival.
I love that. And Elaine, if you could, just for our audience, let them know just a couple of, you don't even have to name theaters, but like, where's the furthest theater that's going to be participating in our festival? Let's show the world how nationwide and international we're being with your festival. Elaine, a little bit closer. I think we lost your audio again.
Portland, Oregon, Philadelphia, Mexico City, and we could just get, and Seven Devils Playwrights Conference, which is a national conference that happens in Idaho in the summer, but it's also New York based, and the directors in Denver. So there are really many, many tendrils and reaches. And I also just want to do a shout out to Maria for calling Wetback. It is a Romeo and Juliet. It is a love story. And I always love the love story in a play. So thanks for seeing that.
Well, I do want to give a little bit of love to Facebook. There's been some real shout outs for y'all.
Thank you.
We had, so many wonderful messages. Lena Clark is giving it up. Thank you for saying happy birthday. It was my birthday this week, so thank you for saying that. Jermaine said, congrats, Elaine. What a tribute. Lena said, Tucson represent, which is great. And that's my cousin. He's the best. And so we just have a lot of love coming up. China Young gave us a good shout out. Yes, thank you. And it said, this group of Tucson art leaders are among the best humans I've worked with, and much love to you all. I just think that's just wonderful. So that's a testament to theater in Tucson and the family environment. And I'm so glad that ATC gets to join that. And Elaine, can you share what the Arizona Theater Company offerings will be for the RomeroFest?
Yes, this is exciting. So I have a brand new play called Halstead, which I've never heard aloud. and Sean will be directing that. I'm super excited about it, super terrified. It has to do with my experience of my husband having a fairly large stroke. But it's funny, and it's got a lot of other elements to it. So, and the other play is called Ponzi, which is a play that I've written and rewritten, and it was inspired by Harold Pinter's Betrayal, and it's a wealthy woman who loses everything in a Ponzi scheme and has to figure out who she is in the world.
Now we know that Sean is directing Halstead. Can you tell our audience a little bit about who's directing?
Oh yes, Ponzi's going to be directed by Melissa Crespo, who's in New York. We met, Arizona Theater Company introduced us, and I'm really excited about working with her. She's doing some really amazing work in her career, and every friend I have knows her, except I didn't know her. So it's always great to make new relationships and work on new plays. Plays are, Brad is the love of my life, but plays are the other love of my life.
They can be both. Well, we're just so excited to let the audience know that the festival starts on March 1st. We are ripping and running with the festival. On the very first day of March, we will have an incredible scholarly panel in which we will have industry professionals and scholars that will be breaking down Elaine's work. We are excited about those guests and our moderator that will be a part of that. And we have a month long of different activities that are involved. And of course, also uplifting the different offerings across the nation and internationally that will be involved with the RomeroFest. So we're super excited about it, and we hope that you are all too. So the last thing I want to do before I let you go is we have a tradition here at Hang and Focus where we grab words. And Elaine, I'm going to wait on yours until after our segment. So this is more for Maria and for Bryan. But if there's one single word that you can think of right now that encapsulates how you feel, what the state of the world is today, or like what word is reverberating in your spirit, what word would that be and why?
Healing. Healing. That's where we're all at. Everybody. I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. Just popped out. But that's where we're all at right now. We're all in need of grace.
That's gorgeous. I felt that. Thank you.
I love that, Maria. Yeah. I think there's a sense of waiting, like we're waiting for what happens when we open up again. When do we get to open up again? And when we do open again, then who are we? What are we? What is this all going to mean? I especially feel that in theater right now, where we're all doing things on Zoom and we're doing things in parking lots. But there's a question of what do we become when we step away from this chapter of our lives? So waiting.
Thank you. And I completely concur. I had, during my birthday celebration, so everyone knows, I had a Zoom dance party. And I had friends of mine from elementary school all the way through the different phases of my life, like 25 women just on the Zoom, living our best life, dancing to 90s hits. And I was thinking to myself, never though would this have ever been possible before the moment that we're in now. So whether focusing on the fact that I can't, go to my favorite restaurant with maybe a smaller group of friends, right? I got to touch on so many different people that I love so much in one group at one time across the nation, from Virginia to San Francisco to New York to New Jersey to Texas. Everyone was able to be a part of that celebration. And so, like you're saying, Bryan, like there's some real beautiful things that have come out of the space that we're in right now. And how it changes us will really be how we move theater forward in the future. Thank you so much for being our guest. I just appreciate the both of you. I've been spending every week with these beautiful individuals in production meetings for the RomeroFest. I just want to give a big thank you from Arizona Theater Company for both of your dedication and hard work and Bryan's organizational skills. Shout out to the Google Forms. Just thank you sincerely for all of your hard work, for producing Elaine's work, which we are obviously huge fans of, and allowing us to be a part of something greater. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
It was a joy to be a
We'll see
part
you
of this.
soon.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, Elaine. How exciting is this festival gonna be?
It's gonna be crazy.
Now, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm just thinking about how when I write a play, I'll call Molly Lyons and she'll read me the play, or I'll call Stephanie Diaz and she'll read me the play in that very early stage, and how I so connect, to actors and experience my play through that human being. And that's just where theater starts for me. It's through the actor. So to me, this is like a really exciting moment to have plays I've never heard, plays I've only heard in Spanish but not in English, plays I wrote in English that I'm going to hear in Spanish. I mean, it's going to be a little crazy, but I'm pretty excited.
Well, you've earned this and more. We can't wait to uplift you up and celebrate you. And so I was thinking, we know so much about you as the playwright, and we're going to delve into that a little bit more. But first, I'm going to bring on a special guest. So I'm going to bring out Will Rogers. Now,
That's
Will
me.
Rogers.
Hi, Elaine.
Now, for our audience, Will Rogers is our community engagement manager. He is the god mic, if you will, the voice of Hang and Focus, as well as our wonderful editor of all of our content. He works really hard at providing you your call boards every single week. So just a quick shout out to Will, and I'm so glad that I get to bring you on as our special guest to say hello to Miss Elaine and maybe ask some questions.
Yeah, well, I'm a huge fan of Elaine, and I've known Elaine for a long, long time. I've known her since I was in Chicago before I came here, and it's funny, Elaine, because we have Christopher Diaz coming to be part of one of our table work series coming up soon, and I realized that you and I met at the Ignition Festival in Chicago, where we produced The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity, Christopher Diaz's play, which was also a winner of the NLPA, I believe. Was that correct?
Yes, correct.
But getting ready for today's show, I went on your website, which I'd never been on your website because I don't need to go to your website. I know all about you. That's not true. I do not know all about you. So I read some things on your website, and so I have some questions for you, Chanel. Actually, I want to know, which one of these things is not? Which one of these things did I make up about Elaine? Okay, one of these things is not true.
So 2 truths and a lie. Got
Two
it.
truths and a lie, and if you get it right, she'll have to tell the story.
Okay.
That Elaine saw Disneyland with the King of Zululand. That Elaine learned transcendent meditation from a guru from a makeshift altar from her family's toilet. Or Elaine handed out ham sandwiches with Mother Teresa. Which one of those things did Elaine not do?
Oh my goodness, those are amazing.
Yeah.
Wonderfully random. I would say she didn't hand out sandwiches with Mother Teresa.
No, she did all 3 of those things. There was not one lie in there.
Okay.
So I kind of feel like Elaine just has to pick one of those and tell us the story because that's crazy.
That's incredible. Okay, Elaine.
Well, the King of Zululand, when he got married to his second wife, they were concerned because he was going to go to Los Angeles for his honeymoon, and they wanted him to be safe. So they sent him to my family home in Orange County with his entourage. And they stayed with us, I think, for about a week. And it was just such an amazing... I was in the presence of true royalty, and, he was just such an elegant human being, and it was so moving to meet him. And then we went to Disneyland, and suddenly we're cutting line everywhere because we have a king with us. And one of the moments that sticks out to me is going to the Jungle Boat cruise, and the king saying, is this what they think of Africa?
Oh, no.
Like that. Yeah, we have a lot of great family stories.
How old were you, Elaine?
I was in high school. I walked into my high school class in the morning and I said, I can't go to class today and I can't take my math test because I'm going to Disneyland with the King of Zululand. And my teacher said that must be true because nobody would make that up.
Would make that up. Exactly. How cool is that? Okay, so then if there wasn't no lies detected for any of the 3 things that Will gave, so let's talk about the second one. What was it again? It was a toilet. What was that?
She learned transcendent meditation from a guru who imparted her mantras from a makeshift altar fashioned from the family toilet.
Yeah. So this experience was, my father was interested in transcendental meditation, and he brought a woman from New York who was a teacher, a meditator, and she trained all the kids and gave us mantras. And she needed a place to build the altar for us to learn transcendental meditation, so it ended up being in our bathroom. Her name was Jane. I admired her so very much because I just thought she was like the coolest thing that had ever come to the house.
That's amazing.
That is so neat. Okay.
Now, can we have the third one, please?
I have to know.
It's so funny when you really meet a saint. Mother Teresa. So what happened is I had traveled to West Africa and I had received 2 gifts. One was 120 braids and this long hair, and the other was hennaed feet. And on the way home, I thought I would stop in Paris because that's where my airline ticket was going through. And I got together with a friend of mine from college, and he said, hey, Elaine, I'd I'd love to show you Paris, but every day I have this commitment where I go and feed the poor. And I was like, well, I want to feed the poor. So I went ahead and, went to this place where he was feeding the poor every day while I was there. And then one day they said, oh, Mother's coming. And so the next day I go, I have no idea who Mother is. And Mother Teresa walks in.
Oh my
And so she at the time was recovering from a heart attack, and we were feeding ham sandwiches. I hate to say it, but to Muslim men who don't eat ham. So I was, of course, very conflicted. Like, why are we doing this? This is against our religion. But she told us that we were going to give them, this is the food that we had, and this is what we were sharing. So a special moment of that experience was a woman who'd gone to Paris to become a singer, to become an opera singer. And they say Mother Teresa, when she would walk into a room, she would always pick one person and try to reach out to them. And this was the person that she picked that day. And this young woman had lost all of her resources and she couldn't get home. And she sang for Mother Teresa. And you could just hear the remnants of a really beautiful voice. And I'll just never forget the sound of that artist. I was very moved by it. And how artists bring the gift. They just continue to bring it no matter what their circumstances. I'll never forget her. I'll never forget Mother Teresa hearing her and picking her as her person.
That is gorgeous. How have you not written a play about any three of those experiences?
There is a Mother Teresa story in Modern Slave, I think.
Oh,
Modern Slave. Yes, I had to tell that story. And the King of Zululand, there's so much more to it. We'll have to, it's a really, there's a lot to dive into, but it was, just watching my parents spin the idea that there was a first wife back in Africa and we were getting the second wife and what that meant, and my Catholic parents, that was just fun to watch them spin it, if nothing else.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you, Will, for joining us.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and run the rest of the show. But Elaine, I love you, and I'm so excited for RomeroFest, and you are just light and love, and I can't wait to hear all of your plays in 1 month. It's gonna be amazing.
I love you too. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Will.
Thanks for holding it up.
Will worked so hard. We're so grateful to him. And I love that. I love guessing those different things. I had no idea. Your life is so incredible. Elaine, how is your childhood shaped who you are? You gave the examples of when you were in high school, having such a amazing experience like that. I feel was your childhood laced with a lot of those type of?
Yeah, I really feel that's true. I think, my parents, they were both first generation to go to college and self-made humans, and both had amazing parents who really, raised them to believe in beautiful things like social justice and they came from good people. And at some point my dad got an opportunity in Southern California, and he moved us from Northern California to live in, we moved first to Los Angeles, and he lost the job almost immediately, and we had sold a house up in Northern California, and we made these lives in Southern California. And so I had a lot of moments of just what are we going to do? How are we going to survive? And it's just the swinging of the pendulum of life that I feel is something that I've witnessed so much in my life. And I feel really grateful for that, because I never take having a resource for granted. And I also don't take I have a very different view of things, I think, because of that, because I've witnessed many things. When I was little, when I was 5, my uncle was killed in the Vietnam War. And, it was so tragic for my family, for my aunt and my cousins. And as a little child, I didn't really understand what was happening. But then as I grew up, I started to understand the way war works in the world. And as a result, have written 5 plays around the subject of war, and some of them will be in this festival. And really just to try to understand what happens to countries, what happens to the globe, what happens to human beings and everybody along the line. And I think, plays always ask questions. So I have had this fascinating childhood. I feel really grateful that my parents always told us to live our bliss, they love that, all of us have just different artistic leanings. I have three brothers, which is just the best to have my beloved brothers. And they've always encouraged us, whether, our piano was always going at home, we would fight over it. And then, my oldest brother also writes. And I mean, all of us have these different engagements of art. And I just think that being nurtured by my parents has really made for a fascinating life. And I remember one of my college teachers, Barbara Drake, told us, if you want to be an interesting writer, you have to be an interesting person. And so I feel lucky to be born to interesting people. My mom's an educator. She fought really hard for bilingual education in California. She was at some point even wrangling housing for people. I mean, she's a wonder. And she taught me to read when I was really little, before you would think you would teach a child to read. And she taught me to write. And even when I just first started to write, I wanted to express myself. Even when I barely knew how to make the letters, it was always in me. And I think having a mom who really would read to me beautiful literature, gorgeous work, to help me develop an ear for lyrical writing. And my parents never talked down to us at the dinner table. It was always like, hey kids, we're doing this now. And we would just have these conversations and everybody would take a stand. And it was never like, oh, the kids are here, we better hide something from them. It was the opposite. They encouraged us to care about politics, to care about religion, to care about all the subjects that are supposed to be taboo.
And what a fun family. I'm like wishing I could get in a time machine and like sit down at the table with you and like hear some of those conversations. I think it's exciting to announce to our audience that for the entire month of March, we will be dedicating all of our Hang and Focus guests to the RomeroFest. And so we have some really great people that will be a part of it, but we have a special surprise. Elaine's mom will be our guest for the final week. I cannot wait to ask her so many questions. Is there anything that you hope that she doesn't share with us?
I just hope she can figure out her iPad.
That's true. We'll make sure to troubleshoot with her in the green room beforehand.
I just want to like magically transport myself to Oregon to help out with the tech.
And your mother lives in Oregon?
Yeah, they live in Portland. My parents live in Portland. Yeah.
Now, who would you say is because you've talked about your mom and like critiquing your work and like keeping up with all the things that you're doing. Would you say she's your biggest fan, or who would you say is like your biggest fan?
Oh, that's a hard call. There's Brad too.
Right?
My mom and Brad, they'll when we were coming up with the RomeroFest and we were talking about titles, they'd be like, remember that play? And they're like the lexicon of the plays, and I just love the fact that I would have like almost not even thought of a certain play. And between Brad and Mom, these plays, oh, that's right, we should look at that play. And I just kind of love that. So don't make me choose.
I won't make you choose. Well, you have such a beautiful supportive.
I do like to say about writing, like, I wouldn't have loved different people, or I wouldn't have written different plays. I love the people that I've loved and how they have created in me the writer that I am, and the stories that I've been privileged to tell. Brad worked so very hard for so many years so I could just write. And I was always on an airplane, always going somewhere to hear a play. And I'm just so grateful for that dedication to my work and my voice and this body of work when it exists. If I didn't have these loving parents and this amazing husband who really care deeply about me and my artistic soul, and artists that are so generous, that invite me into their spaces, and actors who are willing to go there with the work, willing to feel the depth of the work.
Well, I'm glad that you talked about your husband for a moment, because I think it's vulnerable, right? The person that's closest to us, that sees us the deepest than anyone. And to write a play about that person, and then I think what a privilege, number one, that Arizona Theater Company is going to produce it, and you haven't even heard it said out loud. Do you have any reservations, like a little, of hearing those words like said, that's so intimate, about the most intimate part of you, which is your husband?
It's interesting. I only have hesitation, like I just want him to be protected. Like I feel like as a playwright, I know that when I'm willing to go deep and be vulnerable, I am sharing my human experience, and that's what resonates with people. And I've written enough plays and seen enough people cry at a play of mine to know that I'm okay to be vulnerable. But I don't want to make other people vulnerable against their will. So I'm hoping that I'm finding that balance, whatever that is, in the play. He hasn't heard it yet, so.
And how does he feel about being your subject matter?
Well, I don't know. I think he knows me as a writer, and he knows that things that I love and care about come into the writing. So I don't think he was surprised. It was a situation where I knew the title, but I didn't know what it was going to be about. And then I went to this retreat called the Silent Playwrights Retreat, and I sat down to write, because you're supposed to start something that you haven't written yet. And suddenly it all came to me, what the play was about, the title, everything just fused together, and I knew I had to write it. And I called him from the airport coming home from the silent retreat, and I told him what I'd written. And I said, and if you don't ever want anybody to see this play, I promise you I won't do anything with it. I remember that phone call, like all this loud, San Francisco airport, saying, just so you know.
And now we're producing it during
now we're
a
here.
festival. And now we're here. Tell everyone a little bit. So you've been our playwright in residence. So I just want to give context. I'm sure everyone knows, but just to make sure that everyone knows how long you've been with us. So how long you've been a playwright in residence here at Arizona Theater Company?
I think it started in '98 with the TCGPU National Theater Artist in Residency Grant when David Ivor Goldstein was the artistic director. And, it's interesting. I've had multiple commissions from the theater over time, and I've run the National Latinx Playwrights Award. And something that I really enjoy, recognizing other artists and really bringing in Latinx artists to the company. So that's been something that I love, that, it involves a lot of people. Really, the theater runs it. I'm the person who's been centered around it and interested in finding ways to make sure that artist voices are heard. We've done a lot of development of these pieces, helped playwrights get that production, like, oh, here's a play, oh, it won this thing, and then suddenly it gets that production. So that's something that that I feel really glad to contribute in terms of service work to the industry from here on the border, from here in Arizona.
Wonderful. And can you let everyone know about where you work outside of Arizona Theater Company, in Tucson, a certain university?
Yes, I work at the University of Arizona, and it's really a great privilege to teach there, to have students from all over, but also the region, and really, I really believe in the individual artist and their voice, and I'm very interested in cultivating artistic voice that may be different from mine, but helping student or removing whatever obstacles people might have to what their artist tells them, and how do you help them find that artist, and not just say, this is what you need to be as an artist, this is how you need to think. Write the way that you write, dramaturg the way you dramaturg, and find that person. That's what I'm really, really fascinated by, and what I'm interested in doing.
Well, the one last thing that we'll do today, and thank you so much for spending your time with us. I know that I had you hold on to your word and not share it just yet. So you had a head start above Maria and Bryan. So you had some time to think about it. But yes, like, what is your word?
My word is today.
Oh,
It's today.
okay.
And that word is because, Brad always has said that you have to live the moment. And when he had the stroke, he asked himself, okay, now how do I live this moment? And, today is all we have. And so it's today. And as we live amidst these very perilous times, we have today. And so I just want to honor that and lift up today.
Well, we are glad that we had you on today.
Thank you.
Even Maria said in the chat for Facebook, that is a great word. It's always today.
Yes.
Well, we are grateful for you each and every day, Elaine, for being a part of the Arizona Theater Company family, for being a great friend. To our audience, you just don't know, Elaine is a real mama bear. Elaine takes care of people. Elaine just yesterday gave me a shake of sustenance that I needed when I went into the audience yesterday. I mean, just selfless and so loving and wonderful. And I'm just so grateful for you being a part of my life and our organization's life. So just want to give you a lift up and thank you for being a guest for this Hang in Focus. And we're excited about the RomeroFest coming up in March.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.
So I am grateful to everyone for tuning in today at Arizona Theater Company's Hang in Focus. We've had some wonderful guests throughout the last year, but I'm just excited that we get to keep sharing with you all of the wonderful things we have coming up. We do have our matching funds campaign that is about to wrap up on the 31st. You got a couple of more days to donate to Arizona Theater Company, where no donation is too small, and whatever you donate will be matched. So if you're feeling compelled, if you want to reach out and help our theater, we'll be greatly appreciative to help get us back to live. Other than that, our next week's guest, we're really excited to have Elizabeth Montgomery, but you're going to hear a little bit more about that in our call board. So Will, take it away.
This is the ATC call board for January 29th through February 4th, 2021. Hi, I'm Will Rogers, Community Engagement Manager at Arizona Theater Company. Thank you for joining me today. We hope you caught this week's episode of Hang in Focus Live with Sean Daniels, a conversation in advance of RomeroFest, where Sean and Chanel sat down with Elaine Romero, the ATC playwright in residence, and Maria A. Caprile from Tucson's Winding Road Theater, and Bryan Rafael Falcon of Tucson's Scoundrel and Scamp. Now let's take a look at upcoming episodes of Hang in Focus. On February 5th, Arizona Republic's Elizabeth Montgomery will join us, and on February 12th, Sean will be joined by Howard Sherman, producer and author of the recently published Another Day's Begun, Thornton Wilder's Our Town in the 21st Century. And on that show, he'll also be joined by Marshall Shore, Phoenix's own hip historian, both great friends of the show. And acclaimed director Kenny Leon will join Sean on February 19th. It's going to be a really exciting run of shows, you guys, so please join us right here every Friday at 4 o'clock. That's on Facebook Live, that's on YouTube Live, and if you missed the live showing, you can always catch it any other time on either of those platforms. So you have no excuse. Don't miss those exciting voices in the American theater that join us right here every Friday. Now, it's a big week over in the development department at ATC. So we're going to kick it right over to the Giving Corner to see what exciting message Paula Taylor has for us. Paula, take it away.
Hi, everybody. It's Paula Taylor, the Chief Development Officer at Arizona Theater Company. Here with the Giving Corner and a little information about your fundraising team and what we've been up to. Well, many of you know that we launched a major matching funds campaign in November, and we are just about finished with that campaign. And I have great news to share with you today. We not only met our goal of $250,000, but we exceeded our goal of $250,000 with a match of $250,000. So we have now raised over $500,000 for Arizona Theater Company, with the focus on bringing us back to live theater, which I know with that vaccine in sight, with many people now getting their vaccinations, we will be back at live theater the moment it's safe to do so. I also want to thank all the subscribers who chose to turn their subscription into a donation. This was a huge gift for Arizona Theater Company, and we can't thank you enough. So thank you so much for your development team. We're out there working for you and for your theater, and we can't wait to see you back on the stages at Arizona Theater Company.
I'm sure you're all aware that February is Black History Month. February is also the shortest month of the year, and so we have decided to buy Black History Month a few extra days this year. We are going to start our celebration right now, this minute. Throughout the month of February and right now, we will be bringing you a different highlight, a feature. We will be turning our proverbial spotlight onto a different theater artist, practitioner, producer, bringing you people who are making a difference in the world of theater in Arizona today, people making history today. So let's get started. We'd like to turn your attention to Jacqueline Castillo. This talented actor and director has worked on stages across the Valley and Arizona. And in 2016, she co-founded, along with ATC's Chanel Bragg, United Colors of Arizona Theater, or UCAT. In Jacqueline's own words, UCAT was created
in an attempt to create a space for BIPOC individuals to convene, network, learn, and thrive within our fine arts community.
During the 2019-2020 season, Jacqueline and UCAT worked with ATC to create the Celebrating Diversity Conversation series of post-show discussions, centering on bringing new perspectives and broadening inclusion around conversations on themes related to the ATC main stage. Here's a moment from one of those conversations around our production of Silent Sky.
I've always said when I have these talkbacks, my example has always been I would never cast the diary in a frame with people that didn't look like they could have experienced the Holocaust. How? In LA, you know about this. In LA, at the Museum of Tolerance, they just did a, it's not the diary of Anne Frank, but it's Anne Frank's story. It's an updated version with the multiracial cast. And I hesitated because I was asked to audition for it, and I was like, oh, I don't think so. And my understanding is it was incredibly well received. So I thought that was very interesting, and I don't know if we are stepping into a time where we can do things like that, or if it was because it was the Museum of Tolerance. So just throwing that out there is something to think about.
I think that is actually a really good example, though, because you think about what is happening politically in our country right now. That also might have been why it was so well received, because you can see by not just juxtaposition there, as well as with your character in this show. One thing I enjoyed at the end was, being a suffragette and getting that vote, which I was just like, you could have been playing the Scottish woman and you probably would have been lovely in that, but then it was great to see you in this particular role, because then we as audience members know, okay, and then in another few years, you would really get to vote. So I was celebrating in my seat with that.
And Jacqueline, thank you so much for being with us last year. We are excited for this partnership moving forward in the future, and we're glad that we could share a little bit of your work with our viewers. Well, that is it for today, but we hope you had a great week. Oh, and it was Chanel Bragg's birthday this week. So Chanel, we hope you had a great birthday, and I do have a birthday present for you, and I will get that to you as soon as it is safe to do so. And have a great weekend, everyone. And